welcome gift.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Tell us, what's your role in this church? What position are you serving in our church?
Currently, I am the secretary for the prayer ministries department.
Okay, and how is your prayer life as a secretary? Maybe people are looking forward to someone who is so prayerful. Tell us more. How is your prayer life, and how you being a youth, how are you using prayer in your everyday life?
I mean, prayer is tough for everyone. That's natural. We should always expect that. Nobody has it easier with prayer than anybody else. But I think it's important for me and everybody, especially at my age, you need to sort of remember that whatever problems you come, because problems are new for me. I've had parents up until this point basically saving me from everything, but then that's where I start to really realize I should rely on God, and that's where prayer starts to come in a lot more.
Okay, where you're saying allowing God, how is it like living in a life where a generation where you have so many things competing, like influences that are competing up with you, and then you want to seek God? How does that feel, and how is it really like?
I mean, it's tough because obviously it means that you're looking at other people who go away from God. But I think for me, I'll speak for myself, I've seen God in my life before. I think we forget that sometimes. But when you really look back on some of your things, I've seen God before. And I can't forget him just because something else has come up and it's provided me a different opportunity.
That's deep to say you've seen God. Do you have an instance that you would like to quickly share with us that motivates you more to pray to a point that God led the church to have you in leadership for the prayer ministry for the church?
Of course, it's not going to be a special story, but for me, towards the middle of last year, around my birthday period, which was in July, I lost.
I was also born in July, by the way.
Lovely month. But yeah, I lost my laptop, and I had worked really, really hard to get that laptop. It was my first one. So for me, it was heartbreaking. And I remember being in a very desperate position, thinking, what am I going to do? Because that means even school will be difficult. And I'm thinking, I might go through years without having one. But then the following month, which is this month, I got my first job. And that job provided me with a laptop, which I'm using to this day. And I thought to myself, wow, I was here thinking it was impossible for me to have access to that again. But then he provided me an instantaneous opportunity, and I felt that had to be God. Yeah.
And maybe, youth, as young people, we have so many places where we want to get our things from, our answers from, and, especially people battling within the age group of, say, 18 or even adolescents. What advice can you give to young people about prayer and how they should use prayer in their everyday life?
I think it's more important that you focus on treating God less like someone you can go to when you have issues, but treating him like a confidant. Because I think if he is your confidant, it becomes easier to embrace him when things aren't easy. I think the problem is we go through things that we can't really explain to our parents and nobody else really cares about. And we think we're on our own, and that's why we start using these vices to satisfy ourselves. But I think if God is your confidant, then you're not alone. And the moment you remember you're not alone, it's different. You don't really even have to think about asking God. You just go, God, I want to do this thing, but I'm not feeling confident. How can I go about it? It becomes a relationship. And when it's a relationship, it's the most powerful relationship you can have.
Yeah, speaking from a relationship point of view, do I have to learn to say, like, how do I phrase? Young people, we struggle with words, yeah? Like we want to frame words in a special way that maybe God can listen to us differently. How do you tell someone who has never prayed before to start praying, and where do they start from?
I think the most important thing is treat praying like you're talking to a friend that you can trust with your problems. Because if this is one of your best friends, right, you've probably had at least one friend in your life where you could say, if something was going on in my life, he doesn't have to have the answer. He doesn't need to help me immediately. He might not even help me with that specific problem. He might just say, it's fine. Let's go and do something else. Completely take me away from the topic. But if it's a friendship like that, I think prayer is easy. So the problem most of the time is we treat it like we're talking to a king that doesn't want to hear any of our problems. But we're talking to a friend here, a friend who wants to talk back with us and he wants to hear about our problems as well and then give us advice. So I would say treat it like you're talking to a friend. Really be honest with yourself about it. Yeah.
Young people. He says you don't have to speak as if you're talking to a king. You just have to say something to a friend. And I like how you've put it because, oftentimes maybe young people are challenged because when we come to church, the elders, the leadership of the church, they have these deep words that you have to, say them for you to show that you're actually praying the right way. But talk to him as a friend. Okay, maybe one more thing, just this one last thing. Leading a church in the prayer ministry. How old are you again?
22.
22, and you're leading a church in prayer ministry. I think that's a huge responsibility. And I'm just thinking of the age gap. That this church has very big, odd, and very responsible people in the society. And then entrusting their prayer with you. You'll read big petitions, yeah? You're reading very big. How is that as a young person? How are you finding this? And how is this assisting in your prayer life as well?
No, I find it to be very fascinating actually. Of course there's a pressure to it. You go into your first church board meeting and you're like, wow, this is what these guys do, and you're learning a lot. But I think I treat it more like I can learn from them. I feel I'm always looking at these guys with awe. I even said it during my sermon to say, some of you are parents and all that, and wow, you are really strong. Because I want to learn from them. I think they allow me to make mistakes because I'm young. I want to return that faith by saying, okay, I want to pick up everything I can from you guys while you provide me the opportunity. So that someday, if you need me to be there to lead, hopefully I've picked up enough.
Wow. You can serve God at whatever age you are. You can pray to God at whatever age you are. With me here was Gift Mvula, a prayer leader in the Area 18 Estate Church, trying to advise us that we can always pray, we can talk to God as a friend. And look at him at the age of 20, being entrusted with a very important, actually it is the heart of the church, entrusted to such a young person who is praying and leading the church to prayer. And today they just did a prayer breakfast and we had a good time. I hope that you can learn so many lessons from this and you'll be able to embrace prayer in your everyday life. See you in the next session. God bless you.